After decades of car-centric planning, Brisbane, Australia is upgrading its public transport. It's putting a new kind of trackless tram on the road and tunnelling a new train line under the river. Will it convince people to finally get out of their cars? And can Brisbane fix its transit in time for the Olympic Games? I am obsessed with public transport. It is essential to cleaning and greening our cities. Everywhere I go, I take trains, buses, trams and ferries to get to know a city and its people. I'm looking for ideas that other locations can copy and mistakes that they should avoid. Welcome to Brisbane, also increasingly known by its indigenous name, Meanjin. It's a subtropical city with close to 3 million residents across its extended region. If you haven't heard much about the city yet, you will soon, because in 2032, it will host the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and its public transport system will be vital to getting people to its stadiums. But today, the city is dominated by cars. Governments have invested hugely in a network of underground highways, but comparatively little in other forms of transit. The result? Experts now rate Brisbane as one of the worst cities in Australia for public transport, while its roads keep getting busier.
The place is becoming gridlocked. The road congestion is getting worse and worse.
Drivers can waste around 60 hours each year in peak hour traffic, according to the Royal Automobile Club of Queensland.
At peak hour on some roads or some motorways, we do have congestion, and some of that is due to we have strong population growth, and also we have quite a lot of road construction activity.
Greater Brisbane is the fastest growing region in Australia. The population is expected to double by 2050. And all those new residents are bringing more vehicles. Even car drivers are calling for better bus and train systems.
If you're a motorist, the best way of dealing with congestion is to have the person who would have been in the car next to you make a choice to use public transport or to ride their bike.
Here's how Brisbane gets around. 79% of journeys are made in private vehicles and only 10% by public transport. The vast majority of public transport journeys, 68%, are made by bus, about 1/3 by train, and a small number by ferry. Brisbane once had a substantial tram network, which carried more passengers than all modes of public transport do today. But during the 1960s car craze, and after a big fire at a depot, the trams were scrapped. These remaining tracks are simply historical. Today, Brisbane's public transport system runs mostly on buses. It has a fleet of over 1,200 buses, both standard and bi-articulated, also known as bendy or banana buses. The vast majority run on diesel and gas. Only a handful are electric. Some scenic routes run across the iconic Story Bridge with panoramic views of the city skyline. Now, my favourite thing about the buses is the politeness of most passengers. Listen to how they thank the driver when they're disembarking. Thank you. The bus system received a major upgrade about 2 decades ago when the city built a rapid bus transit corridor with separated high-speed busways. Transport experts say the busways are one thing Brisbane got right. Brisbane's bus system works just fine if you live on one of these high-speed busway stations. But for everywhere else in the city, you need a lot of patience. Some routes run only every half hour or every hour. That makes it really hard to plan a journey. The heavy train system is a radial network, with several lines bringing passengers from across the region into Brisbane city centre. Trains carry about 1/3 of all public transport users, but that's only around 3% of the city's total journeys. There are 10 lines, including one to the airport. Some lines offer fantastic views, like the regional trains running north, which pass right below the volcanic cores of the mighty Glasshouse Mountains. But most people don't live near a train station. There's no circle line connecting the outer districts, and many services run infrequently. According to public transport advocate Robert Dow, That leaves some passengers feeling thirsty.
The rail network is characterised by low frequency, particularly as you move out of the inner core. Now that makes it very difficult to use, particularly when it's connected to by low frequency bus services, and connections become a nightmare. And it's not unusual for people to have to wait half an hour. You've got to go to the local club and have a beer while you're waiting for the train.
The train network is constrained by a bottleneck at its core. This rail bridge is the only train connection over the Brisbane River. But that same natural barrier is put to use for ferries. There are several waterborne routes traversing the river, connecting to parks, museums, and universities. The big catamarans are called city cats. The little boats are called kitty cats. Ferries only carry around 3% of public transport passengers, but they're very popular, especially with visitors. This is my favourite form of public transport in Brisbane, the ferries. You get to see all the important sites along the river, and many of these services are free. For the paid City Cat services, ticketing works just like on buses and trains. You tag on and off with a topped-up transit card or any credit card. Then just enjoy the ride. But upgrades are coming, not least because Brisbane has been named host city of the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games. The main ceremonies will be held at an expanded stadium at Gabba, just across the river from the city centre. To reach the stadium and resolve that problematic single bridge bottleneck, work is underway on the new Cross River rail line. Two massive boring machines have dug twin 5.9 kilometre tunnels. Now 4 new stations are being fitted out and are expected to open after 2025. But I couldn't wait that long to have a look. The Cross River Rail team let me take a tour of the under construction Gabba station. Here it is, the train tunnel that will one day bring tens of thousands of Olympic visitors to the main stadium. The engineers here took lessons from other major tunnelling projects around the world.
One of the fortunate things we've had here in Brisbane is we've been entirely in rock. Some of the other projects around the world, whether you're in Hong Kong or maybe in London, they've had to deal with clay and sands. In terms of ground support, yes, it's harder to hold up soft clay than it is to carve out rock, which has a natural tendency to hold itself open. Other learnings are from Crossrail in London. It's probably one of the more advanced, modern technological underground railways. And so we're learning the lessons around platform screen doors, integration, signalling systems, and building those lessons into Cross River Rail as we develop our project.
A new European train control system will allow trains to run at higher frequencies. Some say this rail tunnel should have been built decades ago, but like a train, it's better late than never. Brisbane has another fascinating transport development in the works. They're calling it the Metro. The most contentious thing about the Metro is its name. It isn't an underground train line or subway. These electric vehicles, built by the Swiss company Hess, look like a tram, but they run on rubber wheels. Some call this a type of trackless tram. Others say it's a glorified bus. Whatever they're called, the vehicles will run down Brisbane's existing busway at peak frequencies of 5 minutes. So why didn't Brisbane just build a tram?
Our system itself has the benefit that the infrastructure side, we have an extensive busway system which is dedicated purely for the use of our public transport bus operations. If the infrastructure is there and can be repurposed, it's a far more cost-effective solution to introduce a rubber-tired vehicle with its charging system than it is to introduce a light rail system, the next step up in the public transport capacity hierarchy.
The Metro's battery electric vehicles can carry around 170 passengers. Now that's about as many as an articulated or bendy bus. Light rail can handle around 300 passengers per train. And light rail was considered here, but the busway still needs to accommodate regular buses, so full conversion to steel tracks wasn't possible. Though tram fans may be disappointed, more cities around the world are likely to select this kind of system due to its low cost and flexibility. Transport advocate Robert Dow sees it as a half solution. He thinks Brisbane needs a real metro.
Now, this Brisbane Metro plan, as I said, it's only a temporary thing in my view. So it's not going to work for that long. It might get us up to the Olympics, maybe, maybe not. But they've got to really start thinking about some serious rail capacity in the inner core of Brisbane. And we're talking subways.
He thinks Brisbane could triple its current public transport journey share of 10% with a single integrated transit authority, more rapid services, and better bus connections to the train stations.
I think we can get to 30-40%, right? If we do what we need to do, right? And we're going to have to do it. We can't keep using cars in the way that we've been using them, right? To allow that change to happen, we've got to get the public transport network right? Which gets back to having a proper authority, doing the things that are fundamental, frequent, connected, accessible. It's as simple as that.
With its low-frequency buses and distant train stations, you can really understand why people in Brisbane prefer to get around by car. The upgrades coming in time for the Olympics, like the Trackless Tram and the underground train line, will help visitors get around without a problem. But residents will be hoping that those kind of expansionary projects won't end with the Games. Transport in Brisbane Meanjin is accelerating after decades in the slow lane. Other cities trying to transition away from cars can learn from its experiments. And with the Olympics and Paralympics on the way, the world will be watching to see if Brisbane can get its public transport back on track.